Rumors about the Edmonton Oilers looking at a Milan Lucic trade to the Vancouver Canucks for Loui Eriksson have been swirling for a while now, with talk heating up as the NHL Draft and free agency fast approach. The primary benefit to the Oilers in a Lucic for Eriksson swap would be that Eriksson, who makes the same $6 million annually as Lucic, has a contract that runs one fewer year. Beyond that, however, Eriksson is 4 years older than Lucic and doesn't offer the same physical side to his game. In terms of points over the last 3 years, the players are similar.
I think the Oilers would be doing Lucic a favor by trading him to the Vancouver Canucks, where he's from, and where he played junior hockey. And there's been talk that, okay, if the Oilers trade Lucic for Eriksson, the Oilers would have to throw in something. I think it should be the other way around. I think Lucic has 4 years left at $6 million cap hit. Eriksson has 3 years left at $6 million cap hit. The Canucks need Lucic more than the Oilers need Eriksson. Lucic fills a hole in Vancouver, a physical hole, as Peter Chiarelli thought when he signed Lucic that he could look after Connor McDavid. And they need, Vancouver does, somebody to ride the range for Pettersson and Besser and Horvat and other smaller players. And any thought that the Oilers should have to give up a draft pick with Lucic as well, just to get rid of the contract, it's almost a wash. Like I said, 1 year difference in the contracts. And Eriksson, to come into the Oilers, I don't know what he is. To me, he's Teddy Purcell, say. And Teddy, he's got skill, but he doesn't put up the numbers that he should. He's not a very physical player. He did outscore Milan Lucic last year. He got 11 goals. Milan got 6. But over the last 3 years, Milan has 36 goals, I believe, and Eriksson has 33. So there's not a lot of difference in the goals. And if Eriksson comes into the Oilers, what does he do? Does he become a fourth-line right winger? Does he automatically become the third-line right winger? They want to get faster. I don't think Loui Eriksson is that fast anymore, and he turns 34 next month. So there's a difference in the age by considerable. If I'm Ken Holland, who has no dog in this fight because he's not the one who signed Lucic, that was Peter Chiarelli, I hold out and say to Jim Benning, you want him, you give me a draft pick. And there's a very good chance that both players, after a couple of years, might get bought out of their contract, whether you got 1 year or 2 years left.
Jesse Puljujarvi's agent has come out recently saying his client has no interest in playing in Russia's KHL, as was rumored, and that he's looking to play in the NHL next season. So where does Puljujarvi stand with the Oilers right now? Do they want to keep him or get rid of him?
Contract's up, but he has no leverage. He's just through his entry level. He has no real leverage. He doesn't have arbitration rights. So he gets $1 million in a new deal a year. Maybe he signs a 1 year contract for $1 million. The reason he doesn't want to go to Europe is because he can make more money in the NHL. Unless that Jokerit team in Finland wants to pay him $1 million, which I don't see happening. He's going to stay in the NHL. I found it interesting that his agent said a new coach and a new management, might be beneficial to Jesse. He didn't say Jesse Puljujarvi wants to be an Edmonton Oiler. He said he just wants to still stay in the NHL. And I think in Ken Holland's case, if he had lots of wingers, I think he would trade Puljujarvi in a heartbeat. But he doesn't have a lot of wingers, and I think he's prepared to perhaps go into the season with Puljujarvi on a 1 year contract and see what he does. But there comes a time when Jesse has to look in the mirror himself. This will be his 4th year in the NHL. He has to look and say, you know what, maybe I'm not doing the right stuff. Maybe he has to just embrace being in the NHL, no matter where he plays on the team, whether that's third line right wing, and say, okay, I'll play here and I'll play better, and then maybe I get moved up to second line. He has to be more like Sam Bennett in Calgary, who was a 4th overall pick as well, spinning his wheels, but he seems to have found a spot now where he's comfortable. That's playing farther down on the lineup, and he's comfortable doing what he's doing. And most scouts you talk to look at Puljujarvi right now and say he's a third-line NHL player. Not a top 6 player, a third-line NHL player. As to trading him, there's only 2 spots that make sense. Carolina, who need forwards, and Winnipeg, who don't have a lot of money to spend. But if they unloaded one of their more expensive players and took Puljujarvi back in a deal, Puljujarvi makes a lot less money, and he's friends with Patrick Laine, and in Carolina's case, yes, he's friends with Sebastian Aho. I don't know if any trade ever got done that the media says this one would make sense. The Oilers' second-round draft pick, they'll keep their first-rounder, I believe, 8th overall, but their second-rounder's 38th overall. They could trade that and Yessi and maybe a farmhand prospect for Nick Ehlers, who makes $6 million in Winnipeg, and is a top 6 player. But Winnipeg has to sign Laine and Kyle Connor, and if you conservatively add up those two contracts, it's probably $15 million, say, for those two players. And I don't think there's room for Ehlers at $6 million, along with Scheifele and Wheeler. That's 5 guys making all the money. So I think they have to trade Ehlers now. Whether they work with the Edmonton Oilers, who knows? But that's a possibility.
One specter that looms in any Puljujarvi trade scenario is the idea that the forward would find his game and bloom with a new team. Not unlike what happened this past season with Dylan Strome of the Chicago Blackhawks, following his trade to them from the Arizona Coyotes.
There are lots of first-round picks get traded. For every one that turns out great and gets a long-term contract and goes nowhere, there's lots of players that spin their wheels, and the second time around they're better. That's just a gamble you have to take. I guess there's a line in the sand with a young player. How long do you wait before the asset diminishes so much that you don't get anything back for him? The Oilers waited too long on Yakupov and got nothing for him. 3rd-round pick. And in Yessi's case, this is his 4th year in the NHL. And he's got to start looking like he's a 15 to 20 goal scorer. He can't look like a guy that, plays, but, every now and then he teases you with something and you go, oh, did you notice that? Well, we should notice it. This is his 4th year in the league, and I know they always bring up his age and such, but it's number of years more than age. The Oilers are at fault because they screwed it up. They should have sent him back to Finland his first year, where he'd feel more comfortable, but they didn't. They tried to wedge him into their lineup, and then he spent half the year in Edmonton, half the year in the farm, and then since then he's moved all around the lineup. He hasn't found a spot to play, but instead of saying he's not a top 6 player, he's a 3rd-line player, and it's up to Jesse, if he comes back, to show the Oilers that he's better than that. But you have to get a forward back. The Oilers don't have a lot of forwards. You have to get a better forward back and package him with something that. And in Winnipeg's case, they don't have a first-round pick. They do have a second-round pick, which is why I brought it up. If you trade the 38, they have the 51st player, 51 in the second round. So if you package 38 and 51, that gives you either 2 second-rounders, or maybe you use both of them and you can get a pick late in the first round for Winnipeg. So that makes sense for me, and the cap issues make sense for Puljujarvi, but like I said, you have to get a forward back.